Ladies and gentlemen, the truth is this. Most people spend their lives working harder and still never get wealthy. But the wealthy, they work smarter, wiser, and on purpose. This speech isn't about shortcuts, it's about systems, skills, and supernatural strategy. The biggest mistake most people make when they set out to increase their income is they start chasing streams before they build a skill. They want passive income, but they have no active value. They want multiple streams of income, but don't even have one stream that is strong, focused, or reliable. And that's because they skip the foundation. Hear me clearly, before you can earn high income, you must become high income. You don't get paid based on the clock, you get paid based on the contribution you bring to the clock. You're not paid by the hour. You're paid for the value you bring to the hour, and if you want to be paid $10,000 an hour, you need to bring $10,000 worth of value to that moment. You can't microwave mastery, you can't shortcut skill. What separates a person who earns $50 an hour and another who earns $5,000 an hour isn't luck. It's leverage through skill. One knows how to solve basic problems. The other knows how to solve high problems. And guess what? The market is begging for people who can solve high-level problems. The market is starving for leaders, for closers, for marketers, for strategists, for communicators, for people who know how to shift the trajectory of a business, a brand, or a life. The money is there, the market just wants to know, can you deliver? That's why your number one mission right now should not be chasing more money, it should be becoming more valuable. Because once you become a person of undeniable value, income is not something you chase. Income starts chasing you. Think about this. If you develop a skill that helps a business add an extra $1 million to their bottom line, do you think that business would hesitate to pay you $10,000, or even $100,000 for that solution? Absolutely not, because now you're not charging for your time, you're charging for your impact. That's the shift. The moment you can impact in 1 hour what others can't do in a month, your income shifts overnight. The problem is, most people are generalists. They know a little about a lot of things, but they've mastered nothing. You cannot become a high-income earner by knowing 5% of everything. You must become a master of at least one thing. If you want to go from $10/hour to $10,000/hour, you need to become the person people call when it's time to solve that one expensive, painful, or urgent problem. Let me give you an example. A business owner is losing $100,000 every month because their marketing strategy is broken. They've tried freelancers, they've tried doing it themselves, and nothing's working. Then they find you the person who has mastered direct response marketing and knows how to craft a compelling offer, write high converting copy, and build a funnel that prints cash. You spend 2 hours reworking their message, tweaking their campaign, and shifting their positioning. Within 30 days, they're up $300,000 in profit. Do you think they'll blink at writing you a $20,000 check for 2 hours of your time? No, because in their eyes, you saved their business. That's what a high-income skill does. It allows you to compress time and create transformation, and transformation pays. The good news is, high-income skills are not reserved for geniuses or prodigies. They are learned, they are developed, they are sharpened over time. Whether it's sales, copywriting, leadership, negotiation, branding, software development, or public speaking, these are all learnable skills. But they are not learned casually, they are learned intentionally. You must decide what problem you are going to be the solution for. Then you must go all in on developing the skill that solves it. You need to immerse yourself. Study the best. Practice relentlessly. Get in rooms with people who are already making what you want to make and learn how they think, how they speak, how they execute. Because the skill alone isn't enough, you also need the confidence to own it. You must own your value before the marketplace ever will. If you still doubt whether you're worth it, they will too. The skill is the foundation. The belief is the amplifier. So stop chasing the stream. Build the skill, because once you have a high income skill, you can create income streams at will. But if you reverse that order, if you try to build streams without substance, you'll find yourself exhausted, confused, and broke. The skill comes first. The money follows. The number one lie society sells you is that hard work alone is the key to wealth. It's not. If hard work made people rich, every construction worker and janitor would be a millionaire. But we both know they're not, because it's not just about effort, it's about leverage. Wealthy people don't scale effort. They scale impact, and they do it through systems. You've been trained to believe that the harder you work, the more valuable you are. That's a lie rooted in the employee mindset. In the kingdom of wealth, sweat has a limit, but systems don't. Systems don't sleep. Systems don't get tired. Systems don't call in sick. A system can perform the same task for 100 people, 0, 0 people, 0, 0 people with the same precision while you sleep. And that's the only way to make $10, 0, 0 an hour or more. You don't earn that kind of money by grinding harder. You earn it by replacing yourself with repeatable processes that multiply your reach, revenue, and results. Let me be clear. There's a season for hustle. There's a time to push, a time to dig, a time to lay the bricks. But if you never move past that stage, you will stay in the trap forever, a highly paid worker, but still a worker. The moment you stop, the money stops. That's not wealth. That's a glorified cage. True wealth is when the income continues whether you show up or not. And the bridge between hustle and freedom is systems. A system is anything that allows you to deliver consistent results without your constant involvement. It could be a sales funnel. It could be an onboarding sequence. It could be an offer structure, a webinar, a course, a licensing model. It doesn't matter what form it takes. What matters is that it delivers value, captures value, and repeats without your presence. Now here's what separates wealthy people from everyone else. They think in systems from the start. Most people think about how they can do the work. Wealthy people think about how they can automate the work. They ask, how can I set this up once and get paid for it over and over again? That's leverage. Let's say you're a coach. If you're coaching people one for $200 an hour, you're capping your income at the number of hours you can physically deliver. But if you take that same knowledge, build it into a coaching system, a course, a community, now you're earning $10, 0, 0 from a system that runs while you're sleeping, while you're eating, while you're living your life. Same expertise, different delivery, massive difference in outcome. Systems are how you multiply time. It's not about getting 24 hours a day anymore. It's about how many times your 24 hours are working for you. If you have 5 systems running, you're effectively living 5 lives. 10 systems, 10 lives. That's how you get ahead. That's how you escape the trap of linear income. But here's where most people get stuck. They're addicted to being busy. They love the feeling of doing everything themselves because it makes them feel important. If I don't do it, it won't get done. That mindset is the fast track to burnout and bankruptcy. You don't build wealth by doing everything. You build wealth by building machines that do everything for you. The other problem is control. People don't trust anyone else to do the work. They're perfectionists. They think no one else can do it like them. And that may be true, but if you don't let go, you can't grow. Sometimes 80% done by someone else is better than 100% done by you because now it's scalable, now it's repeatable, now it's a system. Now let's talk about money. You can either work for active income or build systems for exponential income. Active income is limited by your presence. Exponential income is powered by leverage. And here's the truth. Most people don't have a money problem, they have a system problem. They're talented, they're gifted, they have expertise, but they haven't packaged that expertise into a system that prints money. If I handed you a machine that could take $1 input and turn it into $1 out, puts all day long, you wouldn't ask how many hours you have to work. You just run the machine. That's what a system is. It's a wealth machine. But first, you've got to build it. You've got to step away from being the technician and become the architect. Stop asking, how can I work harder? And start asking, how can I make this work without me? That's the difference between those who earn a living and those who build a legacy. Most people think they're building wealth, but all they're really doing is adding. They're stacking dollars one at a time, trying to get ahead by slowly increasing their income, slowly increasing their client count, slowly increasing their effort. But addition has a limit. Multiplication doesn't. That's why the people who make $10, 0, an hour or more don't think in terms of how can I add another $500. They think in terms of how can I multiply what I already have into $50, 0, $100, 0, even $1,000,000. You don't build wealth by doing more. You build wealth by multiplying results from what you're already doing. You've got to stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like a multiplier. Most people are busy. They're exhausted. They've got 20 different things going on, and none of them are producing breakthrough income. Why? Because they're thinking like addition. They add products, add services, add clients, but they never stop to ask, what in my business could I multiply? Multiplication means creating value that duplicates and expands without your direct effort increasing in the same proportion. It's taking what works and figuring out how to scale it geometrically instead of linearly. If it takes you 10 hours to make $1, addition says, how can I do that 10 more times? Multiplication says, how can I take this same $1, system and run it through 10 channels, 10 partnerships, 10 platforms so it becomes $10, 0, without me adding time. That's the mindset shift. The wealthy think in exponential terms. They ask, what asset do I already own? Knowledge, experience, frameworks, relationships, intellectual property that can be replicated, licensed, distributed, automated, or delegated to multiply without me being involved in every step. You can't make $10, 0, an hour doing things that scale with your time. You have to build something that separates your presence from your profit. That's what multiplication does. Let's say you're a speaker. You can go speak at one event and make $5, 0, that's addition. You're trading time for money at a high level. But if you record that same talk, turn it into a course, and sell that course to 10, 0, people for $100 each, that's $1,000,000 from the same 1 hour of content. That's multiplication. Or take a consultant. You solve a problem for a client one-on-one, and they pay you $10,000. That's a good start. But multiplication asks, how can I turn this process into a blueprint, a certification, a done for you service, a licensing model that others can use? So I don't just solve one problem, I empower 100 others to solve the same problem, and they all pay me to use it. See, multiplication isn't just about working faster. It's about thinking bigger. It's about increasing your reach and your reward without increasing your labor. That's what most people never understand. They keep trying to build the business by stacking tasks. Wealthy people build the business by replicating systems. The average person tries to add one client. The wealthy person asks, how can I build something that adds clients for me every day, whether I'm involved or not? That's a completely different level of thinking. That's the shift from being a doer to being a duplicator. The doer is exhausted. The duplicator is expanding. The truth is, multiplication requires discipline. It requires clarity. You have to stop saying yes to things that only add. You've got to stop chasing small wins and start focusing on scalable moves. You've got to ask, what is the one offer, one process, one platform, one skill that can serve many, not just one? Because here's the truth. You don't need 100 products. You don't need 100 revenue streams. You need one stream that multiplies. One offer that solves a painful problem in a repeatable way. One message that gets shared, repeated, and spread like wildfire because it's built on value and designed for scale. The people who make $10,000 an hour are not necessarily more talented. They're not working harder. They just understand that the game is about leverage, scale, and strategic duplication. They've learned how to multiply what matters, multiply income, multiply impact, multiply identity. When you focus on multiplication, you don't need more hustle, you need more focus. You stop chasing noise and start creating engines that produce results repeatedly. That's where freedom lives. That's where legacy is built, because it's not about how many hours you can work. It's about how many lives your work can touch without you having to show up for every transaction. That's not just business. That's kingdom thinking. That's creation. Level stewardship. And it's available to you right now, not when you get bigger, not when you feel ready, not when you get more followers, but when you shift your mind from addition to multiplication. If you're still pricing your services by the hour, you're already losing. You're not just losing money, you're losing the opportunity to build wealth. Because the moment you tie your value to a clock, you've capped your income. You've put a ceiling on what you're worth. And let me tell you something. Your value was never meant to be measured in minutes. Your value is in your impact, not your time. There are people making $100 an hour who are exhausted, and there are people making $100 for one conversation. Same 60 minutes, different outcome. What made the difference? The impact they deliver. You get paid in direct proportion to the size of the problem you solve and the transformation you create. And when you shift your pricing to reflect that, everything changes. You've got to stop selling your labor and start selling your outcome. Stop charging for your effort and start charging for your effect. Because when you charge based on time, people treat you like a timekeeper. But when you charge based on impact, people respect you as a difference maker. Let me break this down. If you walk into a business and help them go from losing $50 a month to making $150 in the next 90 days, what's that worth? Is that worth $5 $10 $50 $0 That's not about the number of hours you put in, that's about the change you created. That's about results. And results are priceless to people who are stuck, struggling, or scaling. Now, I hear people say, but I don't feel comfortable charging that much. That's because you're thinking about what it costs you, not what it creates for them. Pricing isn't about your insecurity. Pricing is about stewardship. If you can deliver $1 million solution and you're only charging $500 for it, that's not humility, that's poor stewardship. You're undervaluing what God has placed inside you. You're treating your gift like it's common when it's actually uncommon. You're bringing light into darkness and asking to get paid like a flashlight when you're a floodlight. Here's what wealthy people understand. People don't pay for your time, they pay for what your time produces. If I can teach you a skill in 1 hour that will make you $1,000,000 over the next 12 months, are you really going to argue that the lesson is only worth 1 hour of my time? No. That 1 hour becomes the most valuable hour of your life. That's not a time-based value. That's transformational value. This is why people struggle to scale. They're stuck in low-ticket pricing, thinking it's what people can afford, instead of pricing at the level of the problem they solve. If your solution solves a painful, expensive, or urgent problem, your price should reflect that. You're not charging for what it costs you, you're charging based on what it's worth to them. Let's take a marriage coach. You help people on the brink of divorce save their family, heal their relationship, and rebuild trust. What's that worth, not just to the couple, but to the children, the future, the legacy? That's not $1.97/hour problem. That's $1.10,000 transformation. But if you're thinking like a technician instead of a transformer, you'll keep charging like one and wonder why your bank account doesn't reflect your gift. It's time to stop being ashamed of value. You were never called to be broke. You were called to serve at the highest level, and high-level service demands high-level pricing, not because you're greedy, but because you know that the more someone invests, the more they commit. And the more they commit, the greater the result. So when you raise your prices, you're not just increasing your income, you're increasing the transformation in your clients' lives. And here's another truth. Pricing according to time keeps you bound. Pricing according to impact sets you free. Because when you price based on results, you start designing your business around outcomes, not hours. That means less hustle, more purpose. Less exhaustion, more elevation. You start focusing on what moves the needle and eliminating what doesn't. This also forces you to get better. When you know someone's paying you $25,000 for a solution, you sharpen your skills. You increase your mastery. You stop being casual with your craft because now it matters. Now you're not just delivering information, you're delivering transformation. That's a whole different level of power. And guess what? People want that. High-level people aren't looking for the cheapest, they're looking for the best. They're looking for who can solve the problem fast, completely, and with certainty. And they will pay more for that every single time. Not because it's expensive, but because it's worth it. You must position yourself as the premium solution, not based on your years in business, not based on your credentials, but based on your ability to get the client from point A to point B better than anyone else. That's how you command premium pricing. That's how you stop hustling for dimes and start collecting destiny, level dollars. If you're looking for the secret to making $10,000 an hour or more, let me tell you something most people will never say. It's not strategy. It's not tactics. It's not even skill. It's belief Belief is the foundation. Belief is the accelerator, and belief is the multiplier. You can have the best business plan in the world, but if your belief is broken, the whole thing crumbles. You won't charge what you're worth. You won't ask for what you deserve. You won't show up like someone who belongs in the room. Most people think they need more information, but what they really need is more certainty. Strategy matters, but belief must outpace strategy. Because without belief, you'll sabotage every strategy you try to execute. You'll doubt yourself before you hit go. You'll shrink your goals to fit your fears. You'll second guess your value every time someone says, "That's expensive." And then you'll wonder why nothing's working. Let me tell you why. Your mindset is in conflict with your mission. You're trying to build a premium business with a poverty belief system. That doesn't work. You can't outmark it low self-worth. You can't outsell self-doubt. You can't out-strategize a broken internal thermostat. Eventually, your external results will reflect your internal belief. Here's how wealthy people think. They believe they belong at the top before they get there. They don't wait for proof. They don't wait for validation. They don't wait for applause. They decide in advance that they are who they need to be to get the outcome they desire. They choose to believe bigger than what their current bank account says. That's the difference, because when your belief is strong, you command results. You don't beg for clients. You don't chase opportunities. You attract them. You magnetize them, not because you're lucky, but because your belief is aligned with abundance. And when you walk in that kind of alignment, things move differently. Now let's talk truth. Most people struggle here because they've never been taught to believe. They've been taught to work. They've been taught to sacrifice, but they've never been trained to expect excellence. They've never been shown how to rewire their identity so that success feels natural instead of foreign. So when the strategy shows up, they don't trust it. They hesitate. They delay. They disqualify themselves. That's why the inner work must come before the income. Your thoughts shape your posture. Your posture shapes your communication. Your communication shapes your outcomes. So if your inner voice is whispering, "You're not good enough. You don't deserve this. Who do you think you are?" then it doesn't matter how good your marketing is. People can feel your hesitation, and hesitation doesn't convert. You want to raise your income, raise your identity. You want to close higher. Tick it deals. Close the gap between who you are and who you say you want to be. The market isn't resisting you because your strategy is weak. It's resisting you because your belief is inconsistent. Let me ask you, what do you really believe about wealth? What do you really believe about your value? What do you believe people should pay you? If there's any part of you that flinches when someone says, "That's a lot of money," then you've got work to do, because belief is what allows you to stand tall when someone questions your price. Belief is what gives you backbone when the outcome hasn't shown up yet. Belief is what gets you paid before the breakthrough even happens. This is why people with less skill than you are making more money. It's not because they're better, it's because they believe they deserve it. And belief gives them the boldness to act, to ask, to own their space. Meanwhile, people with more talent are hiding in the shadows, waiting for someone to discover them. Waiting for some sign, waiting for permission, but wealth doesn't reward the timid. Wealth flows to certainty, and certainty comes from belief. You don't need to get lucky, you need to get convinced. You need to be the first person who's sold on your value. You need to stop asking the world to confirm what God already told you. The assignment is already in you. You don't need another strategy before you upgrade your identity. Because once your belief rises, the strategy becomes obvious. The right people show up, the path clears, and the results multiply. This is why the first investment you need to make is not in ads, not in funnels, not in coaching, it's in belief. You've got to learn how to believe bigger, faster, deeper, because your business can only grow to the level of your personal certainty, and your income will never exceed your internal image. Raise one and the other follows. That's not motivational talk, that's spiritual law. That's how the kingdom operates, that's how millionaires are made. Not just through tactics, but through transformation. The fastest way to multiply your impact, your income, and your influence is not by doing more, it's by aligning with the right people. You were not designed to build wealth in isolation. You are not meant to carry the entire vision by yourself. If your dream is big, your destiny requires partnership, but not just any partnership. Purposeful partnership, alignment partnership, covenant-level collaboration. Because a weak connection can corrupt a strong calling. Some of you are tired not because you're working hard, but because you're working alone. You've been trying to do everything yourself, create the offer, market the message, close the sales, serve the clients, run the system. You're wearing every hat and still feel stuck. That's not a strategy problem. That's a structure problem. You've built a business around your capacity instead of building it around your calling, and calling requires connection. Purpose-driven partnerships are the secret sauce to scaling beyond your own limitations. There are people right now who already have the platform you've been trying to build. They have the audience you've been trying to find. They have the skill set you've been struggling to master. And when you partner with purpose, you don't just share resources, you multiply them. You don't just divide the work, you expand the reach. But here's the key, not all partnerships are created equal. You can't just connect with someone because they're talented. You can't build with people just because they're available. Talent without alignment is a trap. You must partner with people who carry the same standard, the same conviction, and the same clarity about the assignment. When you move in partnership that's rooted in purpose, everything flows. When you don't, everything fights. Most people fail in partnership because they choose based on convenience, not covenant. They look at what someone can do instead of who they are. But skill without character will destroy your vision faster than incompetence ever could. It's better to move slowly with the right person than quickly with the wrong one. Because when purpose is aligned, speed increases naturally. Unity produces momentum. Let me tell you something about wealth. The people at the top all partner. Nobody is building these $100 million, $1 billion companies solo. They're forming strategic alliances, joint ventures, licensing deals, mergers, collaborations, not because they're incapable, but because they understand that shared vision scales faster than solo hustle. But here's what separates the successful partnerships from the struggling ones: clarity. You have to be clear on what you bring to the table, what your role is, what your value is, and what your standards are. Because if you're not clear, you'll attract confusion, and confusion contaminates. The moment your partner doesn't know who's responsible for what, or what the vision actually is, chaos enters. That's why purpose must come before profit. If all you're thinking about is how can we make money together, you'll miss the bigger picture. You don't need a business buddy. You need a purpose partner, someone who sees what you see, believes what you believe, and is committed to the mission regardless of the moment. That kind of partner doesn't flinch when things get hard. They don't disappear when problems arise. They show up, they lock arms, and they carry the load together. Let me be real with you. The wrong partnership can cost you more than you think. It can delay your destiny. It can dilute your value. It can derail your integrity. You've got to be discerning. Just because someone has success doesn't mean they have alignment. Just because someone has money doesn't mean they're in your mission. Don't partner for clout. Don't partner for access. Partner for assignment. Ask yourself, can this person carry the weight of what we're building? Do they have the spiritual maturity, the emotional stability, and the strategic discipline to walk this out with excellence. If the answer is no, that's not a partnership, that's a liability. It's not enough to share a goal. You've got to share values. Shared values protect vision. The right partnership will do more than just increase your income. It will strengthen your focus. It will sharpen your faith. It will pull the best out of you. Because real partners don't just help you win, they hold you accountable to your potential. They remind you of your calling when you forget. They challenge your excuses. They bring order to your chaos. And they expand your reach by multiplying your strength. You weren't meant to walk alone. Even Jesus sent the disciples out 2 by 2. Why? Because isolation breeds exhaustion, but partnership produces power. When two people come together in purpose, miracles happen. Walls break, doors open, territories expand, and heaven backs the mission. If you want to go to the next level, you need to start asking, who am I supposed to partner with? Not based on popularity, not based on proximity, based on purpose. When you find that kind of alignment, you won't just work together, you'll build legacy together. And that's how you stop grinding in circles and start building something that lasts.